We're going to call to order the Park Board meeting, Brainerd, Minnesota, September 28th, 2021, 4 p.m. City Hall, Council Chambers. Roll call, please, Kim.
Tim Boder.
Here.
Troy Rushmeyer. Here. Kara Schaefer.
Here.
Andrew Scheib.
Here.
Kevin Yeager.
Yes. Pledge of Allegiance, please. Can I get a volunteer?
Be happy.
Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Boder.
Up to you, shy guy.
All right, item number 4 is an approval of the agenda. I do have one change, but before that, I'll ask if anybody else has any changes, additions, or substitutions to the agenda. All right, hearing none, I'll add mine. This is going to be item 7C. This is the resignation of Jesse Sanders. And with that, I will be looking for a motion to adopt our agenda, or approve our agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion by Mr. Rushmeyer,
Second.
a second by Mr. Scheib. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, very good. We have an agenda. Consent calendar, this is item 5. Notice to the public, all matters listed are considered routine by the board and will be all acted upon in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless good cause is shown prior to the time the board votes on the motion. This includes items 5A, approval of minutes, 5B, approval of disbursements, and 5C, financial reports. Does anyone have any comments? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion.
So moved.
Got a motion by Boder and a second by Mr. Rushmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Very good. All right, so we will move on to item 6. This is our unfinished business. This is an update on the Memorial Park construction. Mr. Sandy, are you setting this up, or are we heading right to Mr. Sonmore?
I can set it up as we've done in the past. Chris is here tonight to give us a brief update on the Memorial Park construction and answer any questions that you all may have.
Thank you, Mr. Sandy. Looks like the floor is yours, sir.
All right, thank you. I don't have a lot for you here tonight as far as updates go. I'm still just kind of some punch list things that we're finishing up. I do know the striping, I believe, was done over the weekend. There's still some signing, the parking handicap stalls. There's still a sign missing there, things like that, but it's a lot of just miscellaneous little punch list items at this point. So, unless anybody's got any questions or
All right, guys, anybody got any
comments?
questions? A lot of us have been over there. Mr. Rushmeyer, please.
Just, I forgot to ask this on the last, did we decide to put the anchors in the concrete for the pickleball courts after all was said and done? Was that the route that we took?
Yeah, I thought we were looking at more one of the portable systems that don't even get anchored into the concrete. I remember that what we discussed last fall or last summer, whatever that was. But
Well, I thought we decided not to do that just for reasons of that running away.
Basically, we're talking about boring through the concrete to put in the anchors, right, if we
Right.
wanted to?
yep,
Okay.
Pickleball. So that
Can we look into that? We'd
Yeah,
like to look
let's
into
go back
that,
and
the
see.
option on the pickleball? We'll be having pickleball running up next summer, so.
Yeah.
okay.
Can we look at our options there? Can you look at the options for us? Chris,
Just the
please?
different setups
Yeah,
between
the
the
versions of
portable and-
freestanding, portable, plus
Okay.
the anchored.
Yep.
Anything else?
I do have one other
Please.
issue. A couple of weeks ago, it was after heavy rain, one of the few heavy rains we had. There was a lot of water standing outside of the big rink. I wonder if that is, now that's gonna be part of the area that's, I'm assuming the open skate area, but, is that more, was that simply more just because of the heavy rain, or is that an area that's too low?
Well, we had kind of depressed that for reasons for flooding that for the pleasure rink, but I know, been talking to Troy and Paul about that too, that they would like to see that maybe brought up a little bit more, so, I'll connect with Troy on that and get that to where he wants to see that, because it didn't sound like he wants very much, any depth at all. I think he wants it to maybe drain out all the way and not hold anything. Maybe as far
Yeah.
as-
Yeah, the issue that comes along with that little bit of a depression is we sometimes, when we do flood that area, we'll get some cavities and stuff underneath the ice because it's so deep that Troy would actually prefer if it was very, very shallow at a minimum or even flat because they can still flood that area even if it's flat, much like Gregory Park.
Got it. Thank you. Anybody else?
Thanks.
I just have one quick question. So it's the water retention ponds that is basically framework of my question. So we have our capture ponds. I know you and I talked a little bit about the pump and when the pump is working. The one capture pond is fairly deep. It's downward sloped on all sides. I just want to make sure we don't have a safety issue with kids in the park there. It's probably about 3.5 to 4 feet deep in the middle. And can you just give us an update on how those water retention ponds are supposed to drain and just make sure we don't have a safety issue there?
Yeah, you're talking more specifically the one right by the parking lot and the driveway where you come
Between
in.
between the parking lot and the softball field is the big main one
Okay.
that has the PVC risers in it.
Yep. So that's one we did, talk a little bit about last summer and last fall. When we got in there, that thing was really, there had been some drain tile and some rock trenched in there, and that had all really just silted up. So we did correct that in there. I'm actually working now getting Troy wanted to look at a different pump option in there. So I'm gonna try to get him some quotes to get a different pump, because I think he had recycled that from somewhere else and was old. So we're gonna try and get that updated for him, but that we should see that drain down within 48 hours is ideal
When it's
on
working.
a really big in a really big rain event. And it was actually draining down earlier this summer when we did the little bit of moisture we had. It was staying dry, but the pump hasn't been in there for some time now. So
And just, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, that pumps it to the other pond, which is close to the warming house, and then outlets into the ditch.
Yep.
I've spoke a little bit with the street department on this. This is something we'll be doing next summer, is really that ditch that comes off the big parking lot. That all really needs to be dredged out, and we need to take that down a little bit. Not only for the fact that it's silted in already, but we could try to put a bigger culvert in under the driveway to help with the parking lot drainage. I know there's some interest from the park board possibly of looking at that parking lot and how we have it designed. So not only reducing the impervious surface on the parking lot to reduce the amount of water coming that way, but also dredging that ditch out and stabilizing it again to help with how much capacity we have, upsizing the culvert and getting the water to get out of there. So that pond will rise up to a certain level and it'll overflow into the ditch and head basically straight east into that wetland. So that's kind of the overall plan. If we get the pump working, we get the ditch cleaned out, we shrink that parking lot substantially, and really look at how that whole area drains. I know Troy has some long-standing issues with the softball fields flooding because that parking lot not only drains to that ditch, but it also drains into field one. And so we want to make sure when we're designing that parking lot that we look at the slope of that it's flowing away from that parking lot, even possibly looking at storm sewer that we could talk with the county about potentially tapping into their system. Maybe some additional ponding by the parking lot up by field one before it enters that ditch, or a potential storm sewer connection right there. So a lot of moving parts there, but the overall drainage hopefully is improved after all these things are kind of implemented. But we're talking about very high groundwater area, silty soils, not really good infiltration rates. So it all comes into play when we're looking at the overall site drainage with that much surface and impervious area.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Sandy. Anything
Yeah,
else? Anyone?
and I think, like Paul mentioned, dredging that ditch out, I think there's more stuff we can do with it too if we do have some ongoing issues. It's that culvert, the one we talked about, we can get that a little bit deeper. So, but just shrinking that parking lot, that big lot, I think will make a big difference. There's a lot of water coming off there. It's, I think, over 3 acres almost, isn't it?
Yep, it's
So-
a ton of water, ton of storm water.
So some of that,
Parking lot out by the main road.
yep.
If you've been out there during a heavy rain event, it's like a gully. It's it's impressive actually how much water comes that direction. So the neighboring guy that lives over there, he was very worried when we had our temporary construction exits in because the potential for a heavy rain event to basically flood the street and then flood his basement across the street. So we worked with them and got some bigger culverts put in the
And
temporary.
it didn't rain all summer, so, until
That
we
helped
planted
a lot, yeah.
grass, and then it rained. Until we-
Worked out-
so
worked out
there
pretty
was
good.
Some kind of magic going on there, so. Very good. Anything else, anyone?
Did we leave a light switch on when we left the other day, or is the patio area of the warming house enclosed area, is that light always on? It's awesome bright, I just want to know if it's supposed to be on all the time.
I think it's on all the time, because I've seen it on almost every night.
Yeah, I could check on that, but there's gotta be a switch on that thing too,
I
but.
don't know.
You're talking about the one over where
In
the
the
picnic
pavilion.
tables would be? Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
not
That's
sure
the same one I'm thinking of.
I'm not sure if it's, what needs to be on or not.
That was one thing we talked about too, for is how bright they are, if we're gonna get any complaints from, people across the street, because they're very bright lights.
Well, we do have a lighting standard within the city ordinance, and just double check that we're within confirmation of that. We did touch base on this earlier, but
Yeah.
should make sure we're the right color, the right intensity on that.
Okay. Yeah, let me follow up on that.
Thank you. Excellent work, though. I just want to say, excellent work. I'm for one, I'm super happy with how you've managed it and the outcome, the project. It looks fantastic, and had many positive comments, so thank you.
All right, thank you.
Very good. We'll be continuing on to the item number B. This is the, as by wording, the approval of Buster Park Shelter material quote. So, Ms. Sandy, I'll turn this over to you real quickly. You can give us the rundown.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair.
You'll probably maybe give it back to me, but you can
Yep.
start. Yeah, perfect.
So, as you guys know, at the June 22nd meeting, we looked at a quote for materials for the construction of our new shelter at Buster Park. At the time, we waited to kind of see if material prices would go down, because the cost at that time was right around $13,500. So at the time, we gave, as staff, we gave you guys the option to fund the $7,000 in budgeted money we have in the capital improvement fund from the city, and then pay for the rest through park dedication, our general park dedication funds. Kevin and I have been, or Kevin's been working on this with a local supplier. He went back and got it re-quoted, and it did come down substantially. And so really just looking for some discussion from the park board on if they want to move forward with the way we have it laid out with the 7,000 from the city, and then cover the rest with park dedication, or what you would like us to move forward with to. I'm thinking if this does move forward, we would build this winter, and we would get it in next spring.
Very good. Thank you. All right, guys, anybody got any questions?
You can see the attached quote. I have it up on the screen.
Does the quote look good?
No, cool. I mean, it came down. I mean, we definitely, we were paid to wait, no doubt about it. It came down. The difference, I don't know what the delta was, but we did the right thing. I think the only question that is in my mind is, have we really explored what other options might be out there for pre-built buildings and that? And if the timing is that this may not be a construction project till winter, be ready for spring, I'm wondering if we should maybe just take one more circle and look at, Mr. Sandy, you and I have made some connections with some park people over, working on Triangle and that, and I'm wondering if we should just give one more look to this and see if there's something we can do that maybe isn't less money, but maybe easier on staff, is tying up our own resources to build it and so forth. But that's just my thought. I have done some work recently, especially regarding bathroom structures, and have found just some new things that are out there that I just quite honestly didn't know existed. And I think that this shelter might also be out there somewhere else pre-built in a way that may be a little easier. So if the timing is okay, I'd like to do some more digging for you guys, but that's totally up to you, and I would, of course, do that on my own time, so. Or we can pull the trigger. Yeah, please, Mr. Rushmeyer. Sorry.
I think that's a good avenue to take since we waited, and so what did it come down?
Couple grand.
1,500.
Couple
14,
grand.
12, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
I got it. Is it? Okay.
Testing. Anyway, one of the first question I had was, is there another lumber company to get quotes from? And or a couple perhaps, just so we can see if we're in the ballpark. And What you had mentioned is good as well, and I know we have plenty in the park dedication fund, but we're still, almost double what we had planned, and I would like to explore more options first if we could.
I agree. Anyone else?
I just wanted to ask how long this quote will be good for. This, it says that it already is expired and maybe just didn't get changed, but I don't know if it's already, like how long they'll.
The wording that's on there was just kind of a leftover of the original one, but historically, right now, quotes are good for about 2 weeks. But they're also improved, the trend is they're improving every 2 weeks. So, please.
I just want to add, I have heard that they were dropping, but it looks like they may be going back up a little bit. Just for that caution out there.
What do you think, guys? Roll the dice and, at the end of the day, we're moving around about $1,500 here, and I feel like we should look at some other.
I think there's a solution out there that I think from the conversations we had with the playground folks that installed our Triangle Park playground, there's definitely some pre-built structures that might serve our purpose right there. He's got it.
I'll pass this around. This is, and this doesn't have specifics in there, but there's actually some images of some of the pre-built structures that are in here, and I'll just pass this around. You guys can look at it when you get a sec.
So the goal here, right, is just a covered area to sit while your dogs frolic?
With a windbreak, and I think that a little bit of a windbreak kind of aspect, some seating in there, but that's the basic idea, yeah.
Well, I guess the other part is that this cost does not include labor for staff to build it, correct?
Nope.
Which I'm sure is.
I mean, it's already budgeted, but it is an expense that we could be doing something different.
Awesome. So do we have consensus that we're going to kind of sit on this just for a little bit and explore some options here? Give me another meeting to, I think I'd be prepared to come back in the next meeting with some other options as well.
For me,
If you guys are good with it.
The option you mentioned, this, and then if Matson Lumbers, if there's other lumber companies that are in the same ballpark.
It's going to take two guys the better part of a week to build this, in my opinion.
And we pretty much decided it's not gonna be till next spring anyway? Right. Yeah, so then, there's no hurry, then why not wait?
Are we good with that? No motion needed here, right, Mr. Sandy? Very good.
Thank you for taking your time.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. Okay, moving on to item number C. This is an update on the discussion on the Gregory Park illegal parking. Dun, dun, dun. Heavy stuff here, guys. Mr. Sandy, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So at the March 23rd meeting, we had a conversation about some concerns raised by the North Side residents about some illegal parking happening in Gregory Park near the bandstand and in between the tennis courts. At the time, we elected to kind of go with a less intrusive option of just putting up a sign that says no parking. We've gotten a report from our chair that there's multiple times a week he's kicking cars out of there. I don't know what the best alternative is. You know, we could request some enforcement from our police chief, maybe get an officer over there to kick them out, and maybe you get the frequent offenders at least notified that, you know, if you don't stop doing this, you're going to get towed out of there. We could always go back to the gate option. Or we could give in and stripe a couple spots for parking. So there's some flexibility here. I just kind of want to have some discussion with you all to see what the best route forward is.
Thank you. Let me add just a couple things to this. So if you, the parking lots, does everyone know the parking lot that's in discussion here? Okay. So, like I said, I live right there. I drive by it all the time, and I kick people out of there 3 times a week, probably, to be honest with you. The last fellow I kicked out said that he would have a conversation with the current park board president, whoever that was. He would find out and get back to me, to which I said, I'm pretty sure it's Kara Schaefer, but you'll have to check on that. No, but anyways, he did actually say that, but for me, the issue is 2 things. It's the aesthetics of having those cars parked right in the core of our park. Most of the time, It's on, the people are actually parking on the asphalt, but I would say 1 out of every 3 times, people are pulling all the way past the parking lot, down the sidewalk, and parking directly next to or even on the grass of the pavilion. This is to get coolers in and out, whatever, just sit there and chit chat, whatever. So, also keep in mind that when the tennis teams are there, they are using that court and that wall for warm-up. I see them using that wall. So if we allow cars to park there, we've basically rendered that use not able to be used at that time. So I just brought it up because for those couple things, but I'm open to hear what you guys think about it. So there we go.
I have a question.
Yeah, please, Kara.
What is the purpose of that? What was the original purpose?
I believe, and maybe Kate, somebody else may know, but to me, that the purpose of it, when I look at it, was for potentially loading, unloading, but it also is the warm-up wall where the simulated tennis net is on that CMU wall. I see kids playing wall ball on it, or I do see the tennis teams warming up on it, but to my knowledge, that's what it's for. And maybe there's a conversation of it, should it go, but.
I would, first of all, putting a gate there to me would be the last option. I would like to, bring in the SWAT team before they do that.
Doberman, a couple Dobermans.
Yeah, I hate to see a gate on a park that has 99% of the rest of it open. And I would just as soon see the parking lot portion of that taken out of there and make it grass or something else versus, or, I mean, I don't want to see a gate there. I mean, if the cops want to go in there and enforce it, fine, but.
Can we just put a couple of pillars in there possibly?
Bollards, maybe, or I was thinking about, what if we just remove the portion of asphalt that is between the wall ball and the road, turn that back into grass? Would that be enough to still allow staff? Because I do see our trucks in there all the time. I get it. They go in there, empty trash, that kind of thing. But I'm wondering if removing just that amount of parking lot.
Right up to the wall.
Yeah, right there, up to the wall there would be enough, and plant some grass in there, but.
So then they would be driving on grass?
Yeah, but I mean, there's other places in the park where they could do the same thing and drive in. I think it might be enough to.
What if we did if you can scroll down and show the picture of that vehicle that's parked there? I mean, if somebody's hitting against the wall, do they need that whole space? Can we turn some of that, where that vehicle is, straight towards us into grass and just keep part of it, so it doesn't even look like a parking lot?
Yeah, potentially, yeah. Maybe we put in tennis surface on that little area there. Our trucks do drive over it, but we could argue that we could put tennis surface over that little area and truly use it for what it was intended for.
Paint
The
the
only reason I say
pickleball court there.
Right.
Yeah.
Is if we're driving in there anyway, and we're removing pavement, would it be easier to remove, or better to remove this than the drive-in? Because the trucks are always gonna go in, correct?
Our trucks.
Pick up garbage and.
There's no way around that, right, Mr. Sandy? Is that right?
No, I foresee us utilizing that approach, because there's other approaches into the park, but that one is the closest to where all the trash and everything is at.
I know a lot of people park there when they go skating in the wintertime.
Yeah, that's usually full in the winter with
Yeah, so, in that sense, you almost hate to have them walk a block just to get to the warming house, but I guess that's the issues you have to deal with snow.
The gate gives us the ability, or some version of a gate, or removable bollards. Maybe you put the bollards in summertime, take them out in the winter to allow people to park in there, but.
What if we did something kind of like what Tim said with painting the pavement? So like make it into Foursquare, or make it into something so they know, like, you for sure can't park there, but it can also be utilized for something fun for kids, or they can still throw their, practice tennis on the wall. And, because if we remove it, they're not gonna be able to practice tennis, and that's taking away that fun. And then,
I agree. I mean, I feel like this is an access issue because, again, people are pulling right through this parking lot, driving right down the sidewalk and parking on the grass actually next to the building. So, and beyond. And Dave's right. I mean, I've been there when there's been 4 to 5 cars on the grass to the left of the warming house. And people are just sitting underneath the underneath the pavilion, just chit-chatting. They just drove right up in there, so.
I definitely think taking away the driveway pavement would be a very good start. I bet you we would see a massive decrease, if not a complete halt of people going in there and utilizing that.
The section between the wall, the wall ball area and the
If people
road.
see that it's not paved, they'll know that it's not to be used for.
Is it
And
like
then
here?
Yeah.
keep the no
Oh, yeah.
parking sign up.
Yeah, it's probably a good 40 feet
Yeah.
of what we'd be reclaiming.
And that's an easy fix for the people we have on staff. You know, we can go and cut it and put black dirt in. Easy fix.
Oh, could we paint a back half of a tennis court coming off the wall too? So it's kind of like, this is why it's here.
I like the idea of tennis surface. I mean, maybe we could get a quote on what that might be, because they usually overlay right over the asphalt, if I'm not, is that correct, Miss Sandy?
Yeah, yep, that's what they did on the Gregory Park one.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'd be cool. Put some Foursquare and some tennis surface in there.
I don't know if kids play Foursquare anymore,
Yeah.
but hey, maybe
I
they
do.
need to.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they need to.
Maybe they do.
If you build it, they
Yeah, when I was a kid, we had tetherball. Do you remember
I
that?
know, that's probably, you can't do that anymore.
Can't do that anymore?
Isn't it too dangerous? It's kind of like
dangerous.
merry-go-rounds.
You get, I mean, we're not talking lawn darts here. Come on.
Kind of a serious injury. Right?
That's too darts.
Okay, so we have consensus. Do we have a consensus here, guys? Are we okay with the first line of defense being removing the asphalt from the parking lot out to the road and planting some grass in there? Or other thoughts? Because we could always continue we could always continue further if it doesn't seem to be working.
We can bring it back again if we,
Yeah.
What does the sign say? Does it say?
no parking.
There's like 5 of
Does
them.
it say violators will be towed or prosecuted?
I'm not,
or stopped?
I don't think it
The
says
first
that.
one, I believe, the first one that's on the road says you'll be towed. And then there's 3 or 4 of them that are actually hanging on the tennis court that say no parking. Cars parked right in front of them, constantly. It is constant. It really is. Dave, you can attest to this. It is.
Yeah, I actually sent a photo, and I showed you this. I had drove by the one day, and I took a photo because there were people parked next to the warming house, and then someone let me know that in the photo, there's actually a car on the other side of the plaza. So they had drove in and drove around the park and parked on the other side of the plaza. It blew my mind, but that's just a regular occurrence.
I don't care.
Maintenance access only.
And then the argument is, the signs look the way we want them to look in the park. I prefer least amount of signs as possible, just for the green space idea, but.
Do you plow this in the winter?
Yep.
We do, yeah. We plow an access
Is
into
that gonna
there.
be an issue with planting grass between there?
We'll just end up repairing it, you know, it's a
That's
typical
okay.
thing in the
Maybe
springtime.
Every year repair of.
We
seem
do
to
it
have
all over
trouble
the
with
city,
getting
so it's,
grass down anyway.
yeah.
This is, to me, this would be as similar as our pleasure rink, though, because our pleasure rink is destroyed in the winter, and then we got this kind of coming back to it again, but.
We try the best we can to restore things, but it doesn't always work, especially in a drought type season, so.
Are we sure that the gate or the chain or that is out also?
I don't want that either.
Well, again, I said the pickleball court just as more of a joke, but realistically, can't we make hopscotch court or whatever kids do anymore? Paint the parking lot rather than destroy it first and then see if that works. If not, then we can tear it up.
How about that in line with asking law enforcement to enforce it? I mean, hey, bring in a little revenue, what the heck?
Here's one wrinkle I will add to this, is that the offenders are usually over the age of 80.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Yep,
picnics
absolutely.
At the pavilion.
Yep.
So why do you think they're parking there?
Because they don't want to walk from the street to the pavilion.
So there's no
I
handicap.
would say the second most offenders is people who are renting it on the weekends for a birthday or whatever. There'll be 15 cars up there on the grass, everywhere. I mean, they just pull right in. It is constant, guys. It's literally 3 to 4 nights a week.
It can be a communication thing for rentals too. Maybe we put something on the permit or something like that. But I truly think the removal of that asphalt will help that situation, and we can repair it when it's needed. And
Is that gonna keep these individuals from accessing the park?
There won't be.
Dave, please.
Yeah, this may be an opportunity to look at that space and see if there's something you want to do with it as well. If we have 40 feet there, there may be an opportunity, and not, potentially next year, but moving forward, to redesign something in that space that could be utilized for the people that are actually doing that. If they're pulling through to sit under the warming house or under that pavilion, they're really just looking for a place to sit. So it could be potential for creating maybe some handicap parking along the street there, and then having something that's easier to access on that side of the park.
Okay, guys, let's come to a consensus here and move on. Anybody want to pitch an idea here?
Well, I've heard about 40 of them so far.
Yeah, I know.
I would move to remove the asphalt from the tennis court to 6th?
5th.
5th, off by 1. Yeah, remove that, try some grass this fall. Maybe don't even bother, probably don't even bother.
I'm good with that also. That works for me. We have is that a motion? It was a motion, I believe. I'm sorry, I might have missed it.
Poorly worded, but yes.
All right, gotcha. So we have a motion, do we have a second?
Can I add to the motion?
Yes, please. You can add to the motion in one of two ways. You can ask Andrew to modify his original motion, or you can add a secondary motion. And in the case of a secondary motion, we would vote on that first.
Okay, I would just like to ask Andrew if we can add the, maybe pickleball or hopscotch, whatever, Foursquare, add that painting to the pavement as well. If you would
Oh,
be
yeah, I
interested
like
in
that. Yeah.
Part of your motion?
Or at least get the numbers on it, right? We had talked about getting a number on the coating and then that, right?
Yep.
Okay. Kim, do you have a good sense of what this motion is here? We're going with one. Andrew amended his motion. All right, very good. We had a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, we got a second by Kara. Any discussion, guys?
Before we move forward with this, I'm just, as much as I hate to see a gate there, I'm thinking of Bain Park. We have a gate that keeps people it allows them to drive up to the skating rink, but it keeps them from driving past that, in between the hockey rink and so I'm just thinking of why people are parking there, and it is something necessary. Wintertime, now we're talking, this is gonna be an issue for some people potentially in the wintertime. And I just wanna make sure that we're looking, I know this seems stupid, this is really simple, but some people may have an issue walking that distance in the wintertime and so coming up from the street, that's just really gradual, right?
It is. It's an approach. It's cut through the curb. There's no curb there. It's just a gradual approach. I think we would keep the parking in the winter, right?
We would still plow it.
Correct.
And let people go in and out during the winter. I foresee that. Because we need to get in there and maintain it, so we're gonna have it plowed either way. Filling or, making ice, doing things like that.
Okay, now, looking at the photo, we're thinking about tearing up everything about from where the car is towards the park, towards
The
the,
drinking fountain, do you know where the drinking fountain is?
I do.
From the drinking fountain out to Fifth. It's an area that's about 20 feet wide by about 40 feet long would be my guess. Maybe 16 feet long or wide. GIS would help here.
Well, whatever that does, that's an easy fix if we decide to do something different next year.
I agree. I think it's at least a first line of defense. When the school is there, they stage, all the kids stage and do their warm-ups right where the cursor is right now. And you asked, Troy, why people are parking in there. My honest sense after kicking people out all summer is it's just general laziness. If you build a parking lot close to something, they just use it.
Yeah, and I think what I like about this solution is it still lets people park for the warming house in the winter when there is no other use, right? You're not having people warm up for tennis. But then in the summer, it kind of helps define what should and shouldn't happen there. So I kind of like that it's sort of the best of both worlds, and it's pretty cheap to try something too.
So let me ask this, are we in any violation if we don't keep a wheelchair accessible from this side of the park? Like we could put a sidewalk there instead.
Yeah, this isn't an ADA access route. This isn't an,
Could you leave half of it
Could leave 5 feet of,
and make it a path?
I would think we would make it into a sidewalk. We wouldn't leave a bituminous path, but,
you see the bituminous path that goes to the other tennis court there?
yeah. I mean, we would maybe put I would recommend if we're gonna do that, we would actually put a concrete sidewalk in right here. But then it comes to the issue of, when you put in a concrete sidewalk, you should have it lead to somewhere, and you're leading people directly out in the middle of the street.
Mr. Bedell,
Is there a sidewalk on the other side of the street there?
on the other side of the street?
Yeah.
No.
No,
There's not.
6th or 8th?
Oh, there is.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure there is.
It's kind of kitty corner. This comes out like right in between the road.
Yeah, but it's pretty close on both sides.
If we're gonna do anything, I would recommend doing it straight across from this. Cause that would be then we would put in a concrete sidewalk. Well, then you got a catch basin problem, which is another issue, but
You go to the other corner too.
You go to the other one?
yeah, you could come across right here.
Yep.
Yep.
I like this idea a lot better.
yeah.
I mean, that can always be done in the future. I mean, it doesn't have to be done right now, but sidewalks are expensive, but
But for now, we could remove the tar.
it's not gonna run into ADA problems, no.
Yep, and the sidewalk would lead right next to our drinking fountain, which kind of makes sense here in a lot of ways.
Could we leave a dirt strip roughly the width of the sidewalk, Paul, and then have just the rest attempt to be grass?
For now, we could just.
You mean the
we could
asphalt strip?
remove it and add this later.
That's what I would recommend. That keeps you completely out of the realm of ADA.
Okay.
This isn't considered an access path that has to meet it.
So I believe we are still at our original motion. Is that right? We have consensus on that?
Cut it out and paint. Yeah.
Yep, okay. Any further discussion?
I just didn't want to see the meeting end before 5 o'clock.
We got a lot of stuff still. We got ways to go here. All right, very good. Any further discussion?
Like
Do we have money for this?
This is just, the removal stuff is stuff we can just do with our own staff.
We can do it within, yeah.
All right.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Very good. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, on to item number D, which is the discussion of design standards and Lum Park Master Plan. We don't have, do you want to just touch on this, Mr. Sandy, here?
Yeah, I can. So we brought this back. I know at the last meeting, I think we might have talked about waiting a month or something so you guys have enough time to review things. I wanted just to bring this back up and see if there's anything in here that, we should tell Widseth before they, get too deep into this to like something that's like an absolute no-go from the park board. Is there things you really like? Is there things you want to expand on? Kind of that big look at it first. Let's not get too deep in the weeds until they're here with us. But I really just wanted to bring it back and hope you guys had a chance to look at it and say, are there things you really like? Are there things that are like absolutely no, remove it, we don't want to see it here, or anything like that, so that they know coming in to the next park board meeting
Right.
that, we can get those big, huge, overarching items out of the way and we can get into the real nitty-gritty stuff.
All right, thank you, Mr. Sandy. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the board to just, if they have anything, to go ahead and raise the question. I don't think today we will pound out whether or not we have consensus on design items, but this would be more of just something you want on the radar to at least be looked at in the future when we start looking at our master plan for Lum Park. And again, if we don't have anything today, today, we have future meetings set aside to specifically do this. This is just in kind of checking the temperature to see if anything big item, as Mr. Sandy said, has popped into people's minds that may be missing or should be considered much differently than the original concepts that we had. So at this point, I'll just turn it over to you guys for anything that you'd like to add on the radar. Mr. Rushmeyer, please.
I would just like to clarify, are you talking about the Lum Park design?
The Lum Park Master Plan.
And both, the design standards.
Sorry.
Yep. They were both part of that document. So if you guys saw anything in a quick blush review that you either think should be changed or should be completely removed or.
So let me redirect. I'll ask for comments on Lum Park Master Plan first, and then we'll go to our design standards.
I have one thing.
Please, Kara.
I'm just wondering about that, again, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like up in the corner. It looks, I think it's by the disc golf expansion on this. It's like this random building. It's not on this picture. It's in real life. Like it's this cement.
Circle?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just wondering what the plans, I know there was plans for historical structures, that doesn't seem to be up there, so I don't know if we had maybe put that down as a note. I know that it come up in our walks as well.
So we'll just touch base on that then?
Yeah.
We'll make
what
sure that
the
we're
plan
touching
was
base on
for
that.
That's the only thing that.
Anybody else? Mr. Rushmeyer?
For me, I would, just, we have a nice start to, I think, a design here. And for me, I really am interested in what we can do to increase our camping. And especially with the bike trail coming through and allowing camping besides, tent camping as well. And what actually is feasible in here for doing that.
Absolutely.
One thing that
Mr. Shipe? Yeah.
jumped out to me, the area where the ski loons kind of launch from and then where their ramp is, it feels like it's not, that space isn't entirely designed for watching the shows. And I think we could kind of lean into the benefit they're providing, with the entertainment and bringing people into the park by having some seating or even just picnic tables.
This right here is what you're talking about, Andrew? Right up here?
Yeah, it's kind of just grassy and there's a lot of tall grass and there's a few spots where you can see out, but if we could lean into that as a viewing area a little bit more.
All right, thank you. Anything else, Andrew?
This is, no, I really like the direction they've got otherwise.
Anyone else? I'll just add in, I'm hugely in favor of expanding the campground area, especially to the area where the buildings are. I see that as potential space for that. I love the idea of a killer beach and beach house down there. I would love to see that filled every day in the summer with tons of kids and that. So beautiful park. We have a ton going for us here. And I think that once we start getting into greater detail, we can rattle loose some other ideas. But I think generally in concept, it's really, really close. Kim, I'm going to call on you real quickly. So we don't have a spot set aside for you, but would you quickly just give us an update on how our camping did this year at Lum Park? Everyone get ready for this. This may be a factor also. Drum roll, please, Mr. Bedell.
As of yesterday, our revenue was about 51,000, which is probably 12 more than our biggest year prior, so.
Are you sensing a trend, Kim? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know. Do you sense a
I turn away
trend?
people on a daily basis when it's June, July, August.
Awesome. These are people that want to be in our parks, guys. So something to think about.
And that's with, a suspect beach area and.
Yeah, think about what it could be. Yeah.
Are you getting requests for tents a lot?
Quite often.
We have
As well as seasonal.
the biking community, really, the folks that want to stay overnight and they're like on a bike trip. We had that once this summer.
Yeah, occasionally, but more often it's more
Yurts,
just they
yeah.
want to come for the
They
gotta
got 'em
weekend
at
and tent
Cayuna.
camp.
All right, very good. Thank you, Kim. So I think we're on the right track, Miss Sandy. Very good. All right, we will now move on to our, we're gonna go to our design standards now, guys. Does anybody have any comments on the design standards portion? All right, hearing none, we're gonna move on to, sorry, please, Mr. Shea.
I really like the amenities they included. I think those feel like very low-cost additions to encourage people to use the space more often. Anything we can do to make, like Triangle, right? I've seen more people there in the past month than the entire time I've lived in North Brainerd. So.
Absolutely. I said that to Paul the other day too. I live by there, and Triangle Park is getting hit very hard right now. So good for us. Great. Happy about that. All right. Anything else on that? All right, very good. We're going to move on to new business now. This is to approve the revised job descriptions for Public Works Department. Chris? Chris, please.
Good afternoon. So attached in your packet are some updated job descriptions after we have officially created our Public Works Department. We tried to include the red line version so you could see exactly what was changed in those. Some was minimal, some of them had quite a few changes. So at this point, I'm really asking the park board if you were okay with those changes or if we missed anything. Do you have any other suggestions? We would appreciate your feedback.
Very good. All right, so at this time, I'll turn it over to the park board here to ask first if there's any questions for staff regarding what was put in front of us, and then follow up to that if they have any recommendations or any questions, concerns. All right, hearing none on the questions and concerns. Any comments back to specifically what Chris is asking? And so hearing none, I'm just going to chime in and say that quite honestly, I'm going to defer to you guys. I mean, I don't even know what I would say. I'm really, really happy with the transition and how it's progressed so far, and I'm hearing good things, and I'm happy with the direction. And quite honestly, I'm not in the daily minutia of what you guys deal with and execute and how you handle your own staff and decision making and phone calls and who does what and how and when. So quite honestly, I'm going to defer to you guys to run the system and to script a system that gives you the best, the greatest possibility for success. And I don't know what I could add beyond saying if you need our help to help you in any way with that, please ask us. But beyond that, for me personally, I'm going to defer to your expertise on crafting your system how you want it.
We appreciate that, and this just made sure that we were on the same page with you. There was quite a few changes, especially to Katie's job description. There's been a lot of changes for her specifically this last year, and we just want to make sure we were following what your vision was. So,
Please,
if you have
Mr. Rush. Sorry, thank you. Mr. Rushmeyer?
Just looking at the changes that you made, I mean, it's common sense, I think, what you've done, and it's adequate to me.
Okay, and a job description is a living, breathing document. It will change as other things happen, so there may be other changes in the future. But right now, per the charter, you still have control over the employees. So we wanted to make sure you saw them. We will be presenting this to the city council as well on Monday night. And if I could just get like a motion saying, yes, you agree to the changes or recommend the changes, either of those would be helpful for us as we present it to the city council.
Yeah, thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Rushmeyer. We have a motion to accept accept the changes as presented. Do we have a second?
I just have a question real quick before we go any further. Katie, are these changes okay for what you're doing, all your changes you've been through the last year?
Yeah, I was part of the modifying factor for the description, so.
Perfect.
Everything that you see is, half of it's my edits. Mm-hmm.
Then I will second the motion.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Very good. All right, item number B. This is approve the additional summer rec aid position in 2022 budget. Mr. Sandy, is this?
We can take
Sorry.
it. It's Katie.
I'm looking at the agenda. I should look up at page by page. I apologize.
That's fine.
Katie, please, take it away.
All right, so after a summer of working alone and just kind of navigating the new expectations with the increase of special events next year, I'm seeing that having an additional worker that I could rely on in the event I'm sick, or in the event COVID still is around, or in the event I just need someone there that isn't a concession worker. This person, I'm not saying we would use all $4,000. It's more of for those monthly special events that I would need an extra person, and I wouldn't have to have them code concessions or have it go against their days that they can only work. Usually if they're a student or not a student, they can only work 67 days. So I kind of ran into some issues with a really good worker this fall, fall, that I had to end up taking some of her shifts so that she could cover the last few weeks of kickball. So this is more of a brainstorm idea for next year, having someone to assist me. That's not necessarily an intern, because it wouldn't be an intern. It would be more of just an extra set of hands, and potentially someone we could call on for maintenance help. And for the Brainerd Baxter Association, if we need an extra worker, we could have that person work that also. So,
Mr. Sandy, please.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank you, Katie.
the biggest issue that I heard from Katie is we ran out of days. The 67 days that we're held to for, I think it's Chris.
Correct. Per state law, we can only have people work up to 67 working days in a position. And the reason why is after that, they're eligible for union membership. So the union then has a right to start negotiating wages and benefits and things like that. So that's why we limit our normal temporary employees to 67 days. As Katie had mentioned, if they are a full-time student, they could work up to 100. And the person she had this year that was really her right-hand person was limited to the 67 days, so.
That makes zero sense. I mean, I understand, but it makes zero sense that you can have a student do work 100 days, but not.
Yes, we
someone who's
really
not
ran out of time, so now Katie's kind of on her own. So this person could code time on days where they're not working concessions. This job would be available for them to code time during special events, during times where Katie needs that assistance outside of concessions, so that she's not taking away the concessions hours that they are budgeted for.
If you didn't have this person, you'd be extending the people that were tapping out at 67 beyond 67, correct?
You can't.
You can't?
I know that, but what I'm saying
Right.
is, we're looking at this as an addition, when it's really not an addition, it's more of a substitution of hours we would probably be giving to somebody else if they could work past the 67, correct?
Yeah, it could be the same person or it could be two separate people.
Right.
Yep.
It's just a different position, and that gets us past the union requirements.
All right, guys, any comments on this? Any thoughts?
Is this somebody that would be hired later in the summer? to go
No, I would
into
see this.
fall, or would they be hired?
I would like to open it up January and it be in a position that I could use all year round, but only like on a monthly.
So like a casual position? Is that what we're talking?
Yes.
Like an as-needed casual?
Yes.
They can work up to 67 days per calendar year.
What we have in the budget right now is only 30 days. So we're not asking for a full 67-day person. We're saying, Katie's like, I don't even know if I'll use them for 30, but for a budgetary number, 30 is kind of in the middle between the 67, the 0 to 67, so.
And we're not talking a lot of money here,
No.
$4,000. And so I'm just questioning, we get an intern or two every summer, right?
We used to, we weren't able to this last year. But that's kind of, sometimes you've used the intern for this type of thing as well, right, Katie?
Yes. With not having our youth programming, it was kind of a less attractive position for an intern because they would only have been helping with concessions and maybe some special events. So an intern's typically looking to get a multifaceted experience, so that's why it just wasn't attractive to some or
So
a
we
lot
just
of.
didn't have people
Correct.
apply for.
Correct.
The
And you-
closest was Missouri, and they weren't qualified.
But if we did have someone that did apply for it, would that then fulfill this requirement? So I guess what I'm saying is, if we voted to do this but in next spring, somebody applied to do intern work, could we then say, great, then we won't need to hire a recreation aide?
I think we pulled the intern out of our budget. So that position's gone. What we kind of saw this as is kind of the substitution. You know, we pulled the intern out because there wasn't a lot of interest from, for people to come and intern for a recreation type purpose when there's no real programs to run. And so we foresee this as like a partial substitution of that intern just to help Katie out in those times where, you know, we had an incident this year where, you know, Katie was in question whether she could be at one of the events she puts on. And we were kind of scrambling. We're like, oh, whoa, crap. Now what do we do? Because I was gone that weekend too. And so we're just kind of like, you know, it's one of those things where it'd be nice to have that backup and not have use a concession workers days that we need at the back end of the year.
So was an intern a paid position?
Yes.
How much was that?
I think 12 to 14 is what we offered.
Correct. We tried to use
same
the
thing.
Sourcewell funding when available, and Sourcewell gave us $12 an hour, but that's usually about where we advertised for that.
The only reason it's being shown as an addition is because we scraped the intern from our budget this year.
Put it back.
Yeah, I mean, it all makes sense, so that even makes more sense. Now, if it's something that was removed, then I would make a motion to add the recreation aid position.
All right, we have a motion to add. Do we have a second?
Absolutely.
We got a second by Mr. Boder. Do we have any discussion? Mr. Sandy, please.
Just as a clarification, we would just present this to the city council and I would just, you know, bring up the discussion we had here. If they're in concurrence with that, we would add that to our budget presentation.
Correct. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please,
Yes,
Mrs. Schaefer.
So you want to hire for this person like tomorrow, right? Because, no?
No, absolutely.
Okay.
This would be for
January-ish.
January 1.
Okay. So then you would be managing their 30 days for the for the 2022, right? So you know, like, I don't really need you February, March, April, but man, June, July, and then again for pond hockey in December. So you'll be the one managing those 30 days so we can, do they have 30 to 66 days?
66?
Like, would they have the opportunity if we needed them to work 66 days then? I mean, if it was approved, if you had to come to us and say, man, it was crazy, all these people, whatever, something happens. Like, could we have them work an extra 30 days to help?
Yeah, I mean, I think we would bring it back.
Yeah.
If
That
that
would
was
be-
the case where Katie was swamped and she used all 30 days by July,
Right.
we would say, you know, we looked at this and I guess we do need the full 67, but from what you've
Okay.
said or what you've told me, you think the
Yeah.
30 days will be adequate, at least as a start.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, thanks.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. All right, this is our newly added item. This is item 7C. This is the resignation of Jesse Sanders. Mr. Sandy, please.
I'll let Chris handle it since she's here.
Sorry,
Sure, no problem.
Chris, please.
So I met with Jesse this morning, and he will be giving us a resignation letter. I have not received it, but as long as the park board was meeting tonight, I wanted to inform you that he plans to resign. He'll be giving us his 2-week notice. So we're asking if we could start to backfill that position as well. As soon as we receive it, we would be bringing this to the city council on Monday night too. So it just helps us get this started,
The
get someone
process.
on board as soon as possible. Winter is coming, hopefully not snow for a while, but if it does, we'd like to get our maintenance staff up there as soon as we could.
Thank you. Any questions here, guys?
Yes, you do.
He's a maintenance personnel. Yep, one of the 6 we have. Yep.
I just have one quick comment. So, and you and I talked briefly about this, Paul, but earlier in the year, I believe it was at the beginning of spring when we were talking about bringing our spring hires, we had a motion that cycled through this board that was something to the effect of, we gave you guys the ability to make your hires and fires, to handle the staffing as you see fit without necessarily coming back to us with every individual position. Does this fit that, or are we fuzzy on that?
I'm not totally sure if that was only temporaries or if that was full-time as well.
Okay.
So temporary positions, we just give you a list with every board packet saying, okay, these are the people that we have hired and this is what we've done there. This is full-time, so
Okay.
this is a little bit different for me. According to state law, the hiring authority needs to be the person that does that. Right now,
Fantastic.
our charter is still a little confusing. I'm thinking maybe even before this process gets done, that may change, that it would only be going to the city council in the future as far as the authorization. But as of right now, our charter still says that it needs to come to the charter, or come to the park board. That's why we wanted to bring it to you.
Our charter's confusing? Would you,
It's getting better.
Good
It's
ear?
getting better.
it's getting better. Baby steps. Thank you very much for clarifying that. All right, you're looking for a motion to approve the process of starting a new hire.
Yeah, accept with regret the resignation and
Understood.
approve the process for new hire.
I'll make that motion.
We got a motion by Mr. Rushmeyer.
I'll second
We got
that.
a second by Ms. Schaefer. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, public forum is item number 8. I'm going to open the public forum at 5:00 PM exactly. Do we have anybody who would like to speak? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public forum at 5:00 PM plus a few seconds, and we will move on to our city admin report. This is item number 9. Please.
Thank you. So I have a few items to discuss. First, just wanted to let you know about the charter. Nice segue. We just talked about it. The next ordinance is before the city council. They did approve the first reading. The second reading will be held on Monday night along with a public hearing. And those changes to the park board chapter. In addition, there was some clarification on our, is there contributions? Yep, our contributions. So restating the mill and kind of making that term mill be gone, since it has been gone since the late 80s. Charter Commission right now is working on the public utilities chapter, and the Charter Commission has directed staff to create a red line version and to bring that back to the Charter Commission at that October meeting. And I see 2 Charter Commission members up there smiling. Next thing, I just wanted to bring up the streetlight policy. Paul, I don't know if you want to share with the park board what you're doing. It's kind of boulevards, but I thought maybe it would be interesting for the park board.
Yeah, I can bring it up. Yep. So right now we're working with BPU on a streetlight policy. In the engineering department, we receive a lot of requests for lighting as it pertains to mid-block lights that maybe not serve a purpose. And so we're working on that right now with BPU. It might become of interest to the park board when it comes to potential future lighting in parks or other walkways and things like that. So I would just keep an eye out. We're going to be bringing it back to Safety and Public Works Committee for them to take a look at it at some point here in the near future. We have a draft going around right now, looking for a little more direction from the council on if they want to change the look and the feel of our current lights. So right now BPU has, the gray poles with either the highway lights or the Pinto neighborhood lights. So we're going to have a little more conversation on, there's a lot of options. And so I thought I had good direction at the last meeting we had, but then Trent from BPU really brought to light how many different styles and options, and you could really go down a rabbit hole on how they look. So before I bring back a complete policy, I really want to have another discussion with the committee and get a real definitive look and feel, and if they want to change from what we currently have. So that is going on right now, kind of in the background, but there'll be a lot more discussion happening before that actually goes into effect. So
Thank you, Mr. Sandy.
Thanks, Paul. The city council at the last meeting did set the preliminary levy at a 2% increase. We do anticipate that will come down, but you do have to set a preliminary levy before the end of September, and then a final levy in December. That levy can go down, but it cannot be higher than what was set at the preliminary levy. Another thing I just wanted to bring the park board up to date on, the city council is going to be having several work sessions in October and November. So there are 2 in October. One is on the zoning code. That is October 11th, and that will be specific to the residential standards. And then on October 25th will be a work session was requested by the Parking Commission, where they will present to the City Council their recommendations that they came up with after their year, I think, of meeting. Then in November 8th, there will be another work session with the council to discuss the commercial part of the zoning code update, and then also a discussion on the American Rescue Plan dollars. The city will be getting about $1.4 million in American Rescue Plan funds. Department heads are kind of thinking about things that we're brainstorming, things that we may recommend or throw out to the council to see how they would like to spend those American Rescue Plan dollars. And then, last but not least, and certainly the highlight, I think, is the City of Brainerd did celebrate their sesquicentennial last week. I would like to thank the Park Board for participating in that, in the sesquicentennial bash that was held last Saturday. I did go there. There were a lot of fun songs. There was Jenga. There was Yahtzee.
It was busy.
Most popular, I think, were the bouncy houses. There were a lot of kids bouncing. Children's Museum, the DNR. I mean, the ARB, it just went on and on. So hopefully people got out to enjoy that. But specifically, I really just want to, I'm sure Jessie is tired of me embarrassing her publicly, but I cannot thank her enough. The City of Brainerd and our community partners, and I stress our community partners, had 26 events from Saturday the 18th through Sunday the 26th. That could not have happened without the coordination that Jessie was doing behind the scenes. We had a lot of community partners step up. We had a lot of community partners organize events, but Jessie did a lot of kind of pulling it all together, marketing, getting the word out. So today is Jessie's last day. Aww. And we are going to really miss her. So
Round
again,
of applause for all your
yeah,
work.
Thank you,
absolutely.
Jesse. Question, did you make all 26 events?
I missed one.
Wow. Did anyone else in this room make all 26? It was tough. Did you make
missed-
all 26?
I missed one.
One. Oh,
Yeah, you did.
good job. There was a lot. There was,
I apologize, Mr. Mayor, but Street Fest took
Street
it out of me.
I don't believe you were at the pancake.
That was the one
flapjack.
event
was
that I
gonna say,
missed.
There you go.
The
There you go.
Flapjack
Okay.
Festival.
So Street Fest was too much fun, and therefore the carb loading that happened the next day was not in the cards. We found that out.
thank you very much.
Thank you,
Was-
Park Board.
was that all? Yep.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And also, Katie Kaufman. Katie also did a lot of work helping Jessie with the sesquicentennial bash. You were there on Saturday. So anyway, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. You gave a partial report, but we're going to turn it over to you, Mr. Sandy, to finish out your report here.
Okay,
you have
so, as part of the sesquicentennial celebration, we, as park staff, Katie, Kim was there for a brief time, and myself, we attended the Rotary Park Pavilion dedication. I know our park board chair and our mayor had a part in speaking in that. We also had Representative Heinzman and Senator Rude at that, and it was a great dedication of our new structure at Rotary Park. Me and David Chansky, our community development director, had our first meeting with the PMT for the Mississippi Landing Trailhead, and we are hitting the ground running. Our first meeting with Chris leading the helm. We'll go over 5 very large items within the park, and everyone was tasked with bringing ideas of what they would want these 5 items to look like. And so, as you know, we have members of the council, the park board, the riverfront committee, and city staff on that PMT committee, and kind of guiding the design to get to a final plan set, hopefully by the beginning of next year. So, very quick process, very crunch timeline. We're working diligently. We'll be meeting twice a month. I believe it's the Tuesday, the second.
First and third?
First and third Tuesday of every month. So if you're interested, you can certainly stop by. It's fascinating stuff we're doing.
Riveting.
Riveting. Me and Kevin had a great conversation about bathrooms, so
Yeah,
we'll have a lot more of that going on.
Yeah, my takeaway from that is I'm supposed to come back with a poop report for the next meeting. I adopted the bathroom situation, and I'm going to be coming back with more riveting stuff. So, yes.
On the agenda, can we please refer to that as Kevin shoots the poop?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Bedell. Continuing on, Mr. Sandy.
As you're all very aware, we did have a ribbon cutting event. I was not there. I was actually at, we had a presentation for our Caino Lake State Trail and our water storage tank project in front of the House of Representatives Capital Investment Committee, but I heard the event went off without a hitch, and there was a lot of people there. So glad to see that happen. And last but not least, the Triangle Park Playground. I have a picture of it that Katie took. As you all are aware, it's done, it's complete. We've seen a huge uptick in use from what I hear. And our park staff, parks maintenance guys did a great job of getting that seeded, and hopefully we see some grass growing before the snow flies. As I've done in the past, a quick report on what we've done this last month, and I'll turn it over to Katie unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sandy.
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
I was curious about how the difference in vandalism is this summer compared to last. We haven't talked about it, so I assume it's not a problem, but then I just noticed that you did a couple of vandalization. Is that a word? You fixed some things that people did. So just curious about that.
I would say it was about the same as it has been in the past. I think that now that we're getting into the parks every night with our police department to help lock things up and things, I'm thinking that helped. We have caught a few of the perpetrators. I actually have another Lakes Area Restorative Justice project that we're working on with another perpetrator. I believe it was for some trees somewhere. I have to look back at it, but obviously we had the typical painting under the bridge. That's always been a problem. I think as the police department has been very, very receptive to the cameras. They've been able to, they have them live streaming into the patrol room. And so when they see some things that are maybe going on at Gregory and now Memorial, and as we keep adding to that system, they have very quick access to seeing things going on, and they can react very quickly. So that has been a very, very big upgrade in our parks, is having that capability. So I know Mike Bestel, our new police chief, he's really, he's loved that, having that available to their officers. But like I said, it's been pretty consistent. And Kim, I know you get the reports typically, and you've been here for a while. So, I mean, I think it's been pretty consistent with other years. It's the Gregory Park Pavilion. It's right. JC's gets hit, but the bridge and that kind of stuff is our typical.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Katie, please.
I'll keep mine pretty brief. So as far as recreation goes, our plaques for summer were handed out. So a lot of teams really appreciate those. They give them to their sponsors. It has a picture of the team that won or got runner-up. So that's awesome. Those were all delivered. Adult softball postseason meeting. This is where we make a lot of adjustments for the next year based off of kind of a democratic type system. We vote on changes, and it's kind of a way that it's more of a league for the players, if that makes sense. And then youth pond hockey, adult 4-on-4 pond hockey. I believe we're still working on opening that registration. It might be open. We need to kind of modify the dates a little bit, but it's going to be open here soon. And then the Tournament of Terror, the deadline is this Friday, and we only have 3 teams, so we'll see if that actually happens or not. Hopefully it does. So that's taking place on the 9th of October. And then as far as updates with Community Ed, YMCA, the Brainerd Baxter Baseball Association, I think we've made our preliminary meetings with the YMCA, Community Ed, Brainerd Baxter Baseball Association, but I think we were planning on having an official meeting with the new Community Ed leadership in the next few weeks. I don't know if we've had a date nailed down yet, but definitely want to touch base with them. And then as far as special events, Great Pumpkin Festival is coming up on the 16th of October. Looking to have, actually just just the other day, I confirmed that Boysenberry Farm will be donating 300 pumpkins, and the Brainerd High School choir will be selling them as like a fundraiser for them. And then Minnesota Teen Challenge will be volunteering, helping with the races that day. So I'll have a good support system there. Some new vendors. The Northern Pacific Center is planning on having an activity, pumpkin themed, and then Master Gardeners, pumpkin education, and composting using worms. Jackie Berkey's involved, so she's excited about that. Salvation Army will be serving free hot cocoa, like a hot cocoa stand, have you, and then the Northland Arboretum will be doing painted pumpkin rocks that you can choose to take home or bring to the Arboretum. So there's a lot of new pumpkin themed activities. The picture you see, actually the maintenance staff made me awesome tables like that, so we'll have them year to year, but they're gonna be like gourd checkers, so a fun activity to do on the side. And then just some follow-up regarding the community-wide Rethink Your Drink campaign, as well as the water bottle filler. It's been installed. We're getting the plaque made. It's going to be there, ready to be displayed for the Brainerd Games, Crowing Energized, and Brainerd Community Action, all having a hand in that, getting that ready to go. So we'll be giving away those water bottles at the event. So those are really nice water bottles, so you're going to want to be there. They're very nice. So those will be some sort of prize. I think that Crowing Energized is going to figure out how they're going to give those away. Yep. And then lastly, the Howl Oween event at the Buster Park, canine costume contest, and then tricks for treats. My dog will be wearing a banana costume, and his trick is singing to Great Escape by Gwen Stefani. He howls with the song.
Way to go, Leo.
Yeah, he's pretty funny. So anyway, we'll be giving treats for tricks at the Buster Park on October 31st, so actual Halloween, 1 to 3. And that's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. Isn't it, remember like a year ago, all of our meetings were about what are we canceling? Isn't it so much more refreshing to be seeing reports like this coming across as opposed to what we had to cancel or what we had to close?
We didn't know we could keep doing it. That was sad.
Fantastic. So I'm not out of the woods yet, but man, it's just so much more fun this year, actually.
Now we just get rid of driveways and stuff.
The real fun stuff.
All right, this is not an official agenda item, but I will open this up to anybody on the board here who would like to speak or have anything that they'd like to add to the meeting here. Dave, please, Mr. Bedeau.
I just have one request for your next meeting, if we could. I know we presented a budget to the council, but I would really appreciate it if we looked at the 2022 portion of that document that you guys sent forward. I think that'd be a great time to maybe do that before the year is up. Doesn't necessarily have to be the next meeting, but maybe before the end of the year, it'd just be nice to have.
You mean 23?
2023, excuse me, yes, 2023. The 2023 portion would be nice to take a look at that and have that kind of solidified a little bit more, so when you get into your March, you're already way ahead of the game.
Awesome. And I think that's absolutely something we should be working on. And it's some of the gaps are starting to fill in. We've got some input. And that leads me to a conversation just real quickly. I was asked to speak to the Kiwanis this month in front of their group at the church over here. And what the takeaway from that is they have seen what Rotary's been doing, and they've met and they said, hey, let us help. We understand that there's some projects coming up in Kiwanis Park with the Pavilion and the shelter, and they would love to be a contributor in whatever capacity we would allow them to be, either whether that be financially, manpower, or both. They would love to be in that conversation, and they would like for us to try to partner with them to at least allow them to be a helper in our projects that are coming up. And I believe we have those coming up next year and the year after. So perfect timing on that. And they were very energetic and very supportive and had a lot of good things to say about what they have heard about the park board and what is the changes that have come and a lot of things that we've been doing. So good feedback there, guys. That's all I have.
Awesome, nice work.
All right, one thing left. Number 11, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, motion by Mr. Boder and a second by
I'll second.
Mr. Schaefer. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you, guys.